So now we're going to have a look at drawing in some red hair. We're going to start it with some yellow, just that's going to be our palest tone. You can see it there in the highlights. I'm just going to work on this area where we've got some nice lights and darks, just to demonstrate the basic method of doing putting the hair in. So I'm just making sure that all my strokes follow these main lines, which are the lines I've marked in on my drawing. Just following the same direction, but just being quite random with my lines. They don't have to be precise, as long as they're giving the impression of the growth of hair and the way it flows. I'm just going to mark in with my embossing tool some individual hairs, just so that if I do get a bit carried away working with the darker colours, there'll still be some light areas showing. I'm going to mark in more on the areas where we want it to remain light. So once again, with the embossing tool, following the direction of the hair. And maybe just putting in a few straggly ones going in a different direction, just to make it look natural. I'm going to jump now to a dark brown and go into these dark areas down here, just so we've got a bit of a dark reference to put this light area against. Then we can see what colour we need to make it. So I'm just roughly blocking this in. Now I'm going to go in with an orange. You've got to be careful using orange pencils, really. It's best to work up with a whole load of different colours, reds and browns and yellows, and try not to get too many solid areas of orange, even though the overall tone is quite orangey. So I'm just going to put in individual hairs with this one in the light areas. I think that can be a common mistake with hair, is that perhaps people assume if someone's got, say, red hair, that it's one colour of hair, whereas most people's hair is made up of lots of different coloured strands, and certainly in a photograph the way the light hits it creates new colours and tones. So it's worth paying attention, just to seeing how many colours you can actually see that it's made up of. I've got a little handful there, maybe 4, 5, 6 colours. I'm just going to now mark in these areas of interest, these dark parts. So we've got a bit where the hair actually grows out from the skin of the head. So just from this parting line, come down with this dark area, and where the two sections of hair overlap, it creates another area of dark there, and also an area where the directions of hair change, so we want to be aware of that. Like I said, as long as you are following your strokes in the right direction, you can be quite haphazard with placing your lines. They don't have to be 100% accurate to the photograph. It's coming in with a reddish brown. This actually is going to give us most of the colour definition of our hair. Not in blocks, again, working in individual lines. So you've got some light in between strands. I'm just going to concentrate a minute on the lightest bands. So I'm thinking there, and I'm thinking there's an area of light. I'm not going to work too heavily in those areas. Two little bits there as well. Because we're working quite with quick mark making, that's sometimes why I do use a lot more embossing, because you can just forget where you are with it when you're not concentrating so hard when you're doing these quick lines. So it really just is a matter of keeping going in the same way, building up your colours. Every time you think an area needs to be darker, just go in with some different colours, build it up. You can use any combination of the ones. It should look alright no matter what combination you do them in. Just put a touch more of that strong orange in. Just going to add a bit of it to the shadows just to make them harmonise with the hair colour. The point where where the hair comes out from the head, try not to make it so you can see there I've almost got a line happening, which I'm not happy about. A line straight across, because all my strokes are starting at the same point. We don't really want that, because it makes it start to look like the hair is just stuck onto the head and not actually growing out in a natural way. So you need to just make the ends start at different lengths, so they're coming out of the head at different points, not in a straight line. It more random. We'll have some that come in a curved way. But you can do all this, suggest all that with the direction of your lines. And if you think it's starting to look a bit regular, just put some, going in a bit of a different direction. Putting in a bit of the underneath skin tone before it gets too many hairs in the way that by colouring over it might smudge them. Now to build these really dark areas, I'm going to just put a little bit of red . But I'm not really going to use more than maybe one or two tiny little strokes of this bright red. Again, it can start looking a bit fake if you use too much of the really strong colours. Not too too bad in the dark areas, because you're going to balance it up with other colours to make the almost black tone. And that's with any colour of hair. When you get into an area of light highlight, just working into it the same way I just talked about, going in where it joins the head, making the strands that approach that light area different lengths, differing lengths, so you've not got a solid line across. When we've got these embossed lines showing like that, say we'd worked up this dark area really to be as dark as it's going to be, that's going to really stand out, but it will still be bright white. At that point, when this is all really as black as it's going to be, I would then introduce some colour into those lines, and you need a very sharp pencil so it will actually colour into the groove. But I'll just show you what I mean, like that. So because we've not finished doing the darkness, we've lost it a little bit, but I can still see where it is, colour either side of it. Unless the person had grey or very blonde hair, you wouldn't leave it as pale as it was, you'd fill it in like that. So I hope that's illustrated just how I would work on building up the colour of red hair.